Hey, y'all. Welcome to the stream. As you know, I'm obsessed with this song. It's so good. It's so good. But welcome to the stream. I'm Kadesha, Devrel here at GitHub. Y'all got any more of them rubber ducks? What do you mean? You mean like in the shop, or do you mean like for the screen? Like, we have all sorts of ducky images. Like, look at these ducks on the screen. But anyway, welcome. I have a very special guest today to talk to us about the GitHub MCP server, which honestly I haven't had a chance to dig into yet. So I'm very excited for this conversation. But as usual, I stopped the music. It was distracting me. As usual, hey, welcome back to the stream, Best Codes. Let me know what your name is. Let me know what your name is so I can actually address you by name. So as usual, let's dig into recent blogs and recent ships from GitHub, and then we're going to get into the GitHub MCP, okay? I'm so excited for this episode, or for this stream. So let me share my screen here. And let's look at some recent ships, right? So on the GitHub log, and it's just going to be blog.github.com. By the way, how are you? It's been a week, and I'm very happy to just be chilling with you today. So what do we have here? May is Maintainer Month. If you didn't know, now you do. So we have Kira and Abby. They wrote this really awesome blog post on events, exclusive discounts, and a new security challenge. So if you're a maintainer in the audience, definitely check that out. Go to the GitHub blog and you'll see, this blog pop up right on the main screen right there. We have this amazing blog post by our Ashley, who wrote about Copilot Ask, Edit, and Agent modes, what they do, and when you use them. We get this question all the time. So I was so happy that Ashley spun up a blog post, and we've been getting very good responses from this post. So if you also have that question, definitely check that out. Let's see what else we have here. Building a more accessible GitHub CLI. Ooh, how many of you actually use the GitHub CLI? I personally like using it because I'm a terminal girly through and through. So this seems interesting. So definitely check that out. Let's look at the changelog. And if you notice, the changelog site kind of got a little glow up. It's looking very nice, very beautiful. And let's see. So you said
I forgot that maintainer month was this month. Yes, May is maintainer month, and we've been having some really awesome programming on streaming and specifically for maintainers. So if you're a maintainer, definitely check that out. Yes, I love the GitHub CLI. Me too. Honestly, me too. Let's see what else we shipped this week. So it looks like Copilot Code Review now support all languages, and that's in public preview. That's amazing. If you haven't used Copilot Code Review yet, what are you doing? Like what are you doing? It's amazing. I'm obsessed with Copilot Code Review and also the Copilot PR summary. I don't know how to work without it anymore. And hopefully I won't have to. We have some improvements in the changelog experience. We have some scheduled code spaces maintenance and yeah, some other stuff here. So check out our changelog. And like I said, today we're going to dig into the GitHub MCP server. I keep saying MPC. I don't know why. MCP server. Top of the morning to you too. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. So I'm going to pop on Pierce so we can get into the GitHub MCP. You know what I'm saying? Hola.
What's up? How's it going?
To the stream.
Yeah. Thanks. First time. I'm excited.
Yeah. Pretty much welcome to my brain, because this stream is very chill, very, just talking and getting to know our audience. And today, I know you're here to chat to us about Model Context Protocol. Before we even get...
Oh, you went on mute for us.
I don't know why. The button clicked in here.
It didn't want us to talk about Model Context Protocol. That's why it muted you.
So I was saying, before we get into the GitHub MCP server, can you let us know what the heck is MCP?
Yeah, so it's basically an open protocol that helps us to basically standardize how applications can provide context and talk to LLMs. And so there's a lot of different aspects to the protocol, but as someone from the VS Code team, one of the more interesting ones is this aspect of tools. So these servers can contribute tools, and this is a cool way that you can essentially extend the built-in capabilities of something like agent mode inside of VS Code to basically give it superpowers. So for example, you have me on to show off the GitHub MCP server. And agent mode, normally, it can talk a little bit with GitHub, but it can't do a lot. But using the GitHub MCP server, because it contributes tools, we can do cool things like create issues, read issues, create PRs, do all the things I can do as a user on github.com, but we can do all that from agent mode inside of VS Code. So that's pretty cool.
That's actually pretty cool. And so I didn't even have you introduce yourself. So Pierce, tell us, who you are, what you do.
Yeah, I'm Pierce. You said it was casual. I just jumped right in.
It's very casual.
Yeah, I'm Pierce. I'm the product lead for VS Code. So yeah, all of my demos will be VS Code demos. And we also have some exciting news because an hour and 10 minutes ago, we pressed the button and published our latest stable release of VS Code. VS Code 1.100, not 2.0, 1.100. Because that's how we roll. The April 2025 edition in May. Again, that's how we roll. We call it the April edition, even though it's in May. But there's some really cool stuff there that I'll also show off kind of as we walk through the demo on the GitHub MCP server.
All right. So, let's pop into it, right? So I'm going to pull up your screen here.
Yep, let's do it.
And let's do it. Okay, so April 2025 in May 2025 release.
Yeah, check this out. Release date, May 8th. Sometimes you just don't ask questions. It's just that's the way it is. We're gonna do it this way, and I'm not gonna broach that topic. Yes, update. Okay. I will show you how to update in a second if you don't know how. But just for context, all of this stuff, the really cool thing about the VS Code team, it's in this thing called we ship this thing called VS Code Insiders every single day. And that's basically all of the PRs that our engineers merged yesterday, you get access to the next day. So we're literally shipping the product every single day. And then we let all of that bake for roughly-ish a month. And then once we feel comfortable with the quality of those things, we do another stable release, also roughly once a month. And so this is our April release. And the cool thing is if you're using Insiders, you may have seen some of these things already. There's never any like surprise feature that we haven't had in Insiders. So it's a great way to see what's the latest and greatest in the product. But if you're like a stable person, you can do that too. But you can install stable and Insiders side by side. So if you want to try out the latest and greatest, but you also want stable, you can do both. All right, let's jump in.
Yeah, let's jump in. So if you want to be an insider, or like if you want to see the brand new features of VS Code first before everybody sees it, you can download the VS Code Insiders app. It works it works just like VS Code, except it's Insiders, so it's a little not as stable. But you do get to see the features first.
It is pretty, I will say, for a daily build of a product, it is extremely stable compared to other daily builds. Our whole team self-hosts on it every single day, myself included. So if there's any pain point that you're feeling, it's likely we've felt it as well, and we're trying to make sure that we resolve it quickly. So, but yeah, I mean, okay, so let's jump into what exactly is new. So if you don't know, just go to the VS Code website, click this updates banner, and boom, you can see all the updates we've had here. And we have like highlights at the top. And then like, if you're like the type of person who likes to really go into depth on all the notes and exactly what we did, definitely check that out, because like we document everything. The release notes are actually written by the person who built the feature. So that's pretty cool. It's not some like a documentation writer or PM. It's actually the engineers themselves who are actually doing it, which I think is super cool. So yeah, like new things in this release, which like I said, I'll just kind of briefly touch on these because we're going to show a demo, right? We're going to get to the code. So we've made a lot of improvements to the chat experience. So we have made updates to custom instructions. Kadisha, do you know what custom instructions are?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can basically personalize your experience with GitHub Copilot. We have reusable prompts. I'll show that off in a second. We have new tools and improvements to existing tools around GitHub extensions and Jupyter Notebooks. Here's our MCP call out. The MCP protocol, the specification for that is evolving like daily, literally. And so we are basically moving in lockstep with the team at Anthropic, who's kind of stewarding the MCP specification. And we've added support for the latest stuff. So streamable HTTP support is now available. We also now allow images to be passed back and forth between MCP servers and the model. So that's pretty cool as well. So if your MCP server does something with images, that all works inside of VS Code. A big theme for us, like something that we know we can do better, is performance, right? What developer doesn't want better performance? We all do. And so one area kind of collaboration between the VS Code team and the GitHub team has been, how do we make this thing faster? And so we've had some of these improvements roll out to insiders over the last few weeks. Some of these improvements are available, like are called out in the release notes now today inside of stable, and some of them we're going to roll out kind of slowly to stable over the next couple of weeks. So we hear you on performance and general interaction speed with the model, and that's something we're really working on and prioritizing as a team right now.
Nice.
Multi-window support's improved, and there's also some nice improvements to how we can view stage changes. So do you want to jump in?
Yeah, let's get it.
Code.
Let's get it.
Some code.
And I see we have some VS Code users in the chat. Honestly, I've only been using VS Code. So ever since I got into this industry, it's the one, code editor that I've just loved using. And I've tried like a few over the years, and I just love it. It just works. You know what I mean? Pierce? It just works. And as a developer, I don't like switching up my tools too much. So.
I'm cranky like that too. I mean, the good thing is like it works everywhere, right? Like regardless of what OS you're on, browser or desktop, you can use VS Code on an iPad if you want, right? And there's code spaces, there's VSCode.dev. So like it goes with you wherever you are. And so, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I mean, I don't know what I would do without it. So, okay, MCP. So let's just kind of set context. What do I have here? So my background is mobile dev, right? And many people think like, oh, I can't do mobile dev inside of VS Code. I have to go to Android Studio or I have to go to Xcode. I do all my mobile development inside of VS Code. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So this is just a basic kind of Swift UI project I have here. Nothing fancy. You can see I literally created it 5 minutes before we went live. as one does, right, with a live stream.
Yeah.
And so this is just some Swift code. You know, I have some tests in here as well. Classic developer, no tests, just, you know, scaffolding. So those are unit tests. I have some UI tests. Let's jump into like these folders at the top, the .github and .vs Code, all right? And I'll cover that docs in a second. So if we come into this .vs Code folder, we have this mcp.json file, all right? And this basically, we're talking about model context protocol, right? So this is how you can configure those servers, this mcp.json file. You can also come in here and go mcp add server from the command palette, and you can add them. You can add an npm package, a pip package. You can run from a Docker image. So there's different ways to kind of set it up. And then once you add things here, so you can see here, I have the GitHub server. You literally just copy pasta this in. Actually, I'm going to show you something even easier.
That's it.
That's it. And if you go over here, we all love buttons. I mean, I'm in VS Code, but I still like a button. Just click this button. Go to the GitHub MCP server repo. If you're in Insiders, there's an Insiders button. If you're in Stable, there's a Stable button. Click this button. We'll do it live. Make sure it actually works. Boom, it opens up VS Code, and I can go install server. And that's all you have to do. So that's pretty sick.
Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. Let's zoom out a little bit. So you can now use MPC servers in VS Code, right? And this is as of the release today or like yesterday.
The release last month, actually.
Okay, so as of the release last month, you can use MPC servers in VS Code. And to set up MPC servers or MCP servers, you know, I keep saying MPC when I mean MCP.
It's so many acronyms.
to set up the MCP servers in VS Code, you create a .vs Code folder at the root of your repository, and you create a mcp.json file, and then that's where you're going to do all your configs, essentially, right? And so under, you know, like under servers, under that, like, is that an object? Under that, like object, you just pop in your different servers, and your different servers should have, the good ones will have detailed instructions on the code that you need to pop in to use their MCP server. It's you know, it's honestly pretty cool. Just wanted to zoom out a little bit.
No, for sure. And like I said, like you can always use the add server command as well. If you don't have this file already, yes, it does sound like MPC. So yeah, you can see I have some servers in here. Let's kind of talk about what I have in here. I have the GitHub one, obviously, right? Perplexity, I'll show this one off in a second. That one's pretty cool. So this is like what I'm using for search and research. Context 7, probably haven't heard of that one. So Context 7 provides essentially these index doc sets. So when you interact with a model, right, there's a training data cutoff. And even in the training data, it likely doesn't know everything about rando, library, or framework you're using, right? And so this MCP server essentially provides the model with additional context from index doc sets. So like if I'm a .NET developer, it's regularly indexing those doc sets. If I'm using Stripe, it's regularly indexing those doc sets, right? And so that's pretty cool. So I use this to provide additional context to the model. I talked earlier, how do I do iOS development in VS Code? So there's this Xcode build MCP server, and it essentially lets me build and run iOS apps from VS Code. We'll show it off in a second. So that one's cool. Notify, my friend Burke Holland made this one. Sometimes, you know, when you're letting agent mode cook, you go, you know, sometimes you go get a water or go to the bathroom. You're like, just tell me when you're done, right? Especially if it's kicking off something big. So this basically provides a system notification when you actually complete agent mode, which is pretty cool. This one's just a fun one. I could play Apple Music from inside of VS Code. So like, just for fun, right? Like I'll sometimes have it like at the beginning of an agent mode session, I'll have it like randomly pick a song from my playlist. And then at the end, I'll have it like, depending on how things went, I may have it select a different song, right? So that's like a pretty fun, like, it's not like a real like developer thing, but I find it fun to have inside of my VS Code thing.
That is a developer thing, because let me tell you, I have a very specific playlist that I use whenever I'm working.
Gotta get in the zone.
Yeah, I have to get in the zone. So I would love to, if there is time, and I hope there will be, I would love to see how we can build our own MCP server. So let's get into it. So here are all the servers that Pierce mentioned here. I tried to write it down as he was going, but let's get into it. Oh my god.
Yeah, so I am going to try and not have this be super crowded, as one does when you're super zoomed in. So once we add these tools, if I go over here, I could go to chat. So how did I do that? Click this icon right here. Love it. You'll probably by default get put in this ask mode thing, which is great. That's like a read-only mode where you can ask questions. To the point you said, Kadisha, earlier, like we have this great blog that kind of talks about each of these modes, ask, edit, and agent. For this demo, I'm going to pop over into agent, and I see this little tools icon right here, select tools, right? So I'm going to click on that. So by default in VS Code, we give you some tools, right? And this isn't even actually the full list, but like we can search your code base. We can find usages of something. We can get the problems from the language server. We can look for terminal failures and test failures. We can create Jupyter notebooks. We can do, see, there's search GitHub repository. So we can do like all kinds of cool stuff. And so those are just included. Like if I didn't configure any MCP servers, I would have those. Then once I boot, I'll go ahead and start booting some of these. Boot my Perplexity server, boot my Context 7 server, boot my Xcode one. I'm not going to boot those other ones right now. And I come back over here. You can see I got my Xcode build MCP, and that's actually, that server is contributing a lot of tools. So you can see there's a boot simulator tool. There's a launch app and simulator tool. There's a whole bunch of different tools contributed by that MCP server. Here's the Context 7 one.
Question.
Go ahead.
Because that was going to be a question I had. So with the Xcode MCP, you no longer need to have that iOS simulator on your machine. It's
no, you still need all that because it's basically reaching into the Xcode tool chain. It just you don't have to change your like if you want to stay in VS Code, if you're already doing backend work and now you're going to front end work, right? Just stay in VS Code, right? So you still need a Mac, you still need all that, but it's basically executing the like Xcode commands behind the scenes without me having to actually open or use Xcode. So there's that. Here's the Context 7 one. And the GitHub one's there. I'm going to set that up in just a second. Here's my fun music one, right? These are all the commands. I can list songs. I can play a song. I can pause a song. I can create a playlist, right? So there's all this kind of fun stuff you can do there. All right, let's set up the GitHub one though. So if I go start here, it says, give me a personal access token, right? Because obviously if I want it to look at my repos and things like that, it needs to have access to the repos that I have access to, right? So let's pop back over to the browser. And there's a great doc, managing personal access tokens, right?
Can you zoom in?
Yeah. I like that modal, but it's in the way. So essentially, we just need, the same was true for Perplexity. You create for many of these MCP servers. Auth was just added to the specification, so that's coming soon. But many today work using paths, right? And so for GitHub, like there's a doc on how to do this. I think it's linked from the overall. Yep, look at this. That's how you write a doc. You need to create a personal access token. So I got Docker running because, as you can see here, this is actually booting a Docker image, right? And running the GitHub server behind the scenes. So I need to install Docker. And the next step was to, okay, I have Docker running. Now create this personal access token. So if I follow these docs, right, I'm going to generate a new token. Can you take me off screen for a minute? Because I don't want to do this hashtag security thing.
Always protect your codes and your tokens.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to go generate
while
token.
You're doing that, I'll comb through the comments. Let's see if we have anything. So cool, the to have your Apple Music player play you something from VS Code. Yeah, that is so cool. I would love to know what the repo is for that one, so we can all use it and dig into it. Because that one is pretty cool.
All right, I'm back.
Let me know when you're ready. Okay,
we're back. All right, back in VS Code. So all I did is I clicked start here, and this was the prompt we got earlier. So I just basically got that access token. I'm gonna hit enter. Now it's gonna say running. Okay, so this seems very scary. I just gave my token to VS Code. What's happening? It's actually being encrypted. It's all local. You can see here, it's not exposed in any of my files. We hide it. So it's all secure. It's all local, right? Nothing scary is happening there. And so that's
Nice.
actually, I think VS Code has a great integration working with these keys. It's, I think, in my opinion, like the most secure MCP client in terms of how it works with these keys. So yeah, so that's all configured. Now if I go back over here, the loop, I'm going to go ahead and turn on some of these. So let's look at some of the tools we have, right? So we have add issue, we can create branches, we can create issues, create pull requests. So there's a lot of fun stuff in here, right? Like pretty much all the things you would expect to do with GitHub. I can see lists of different things like commits, issues. I can search for code across GitHub repositories. So this is all pretty neat. So I'm just going to go ahead and exit out of that. Let's see like one of these MCP servers in action though, right? So, you know, first thing I want to do is just like go ahead and run this app. So I'm going to say run this app. And that's going to get into my first thing I wanted to show from this new release. So if you're familiar with custom instructions, we have this copilot instructions.md file, right? And this basically is applied to every single request with the model. So I can say like essentially anything I type in chat, this is sent. So you can see I actually have some instructions on how to use my MCP servers in here. So I say, if you lack context on how to solve my request, let me turn on word wrap. Then use the resolve library ID from context 7 to get the library, right, that we want the docs for. And then use this get library docs command to get additional docs. So like this is attached on every single interaction I have to the model. So this instruction file, like it could also contain things like here are my coding practices, like do this, don't do that type of things. But it can get quite long for like a real world project. And so this last release that came out today, we have this .github instructions directory. And now we have this really nice format. So I can basically break up that instruction file and I can say, for this glob pattern, always apply this instruction. So say I want just rules for my front end or just rules for my back end, right? I can do that. In this case, I'm just applying to all, which is also something I can do. But this is a cool way. Yeah, that way you're not like putting everything into the main instruction. And sometimes like your coding guidelines for your front end and back end may conflict, right? And so you can't put them both in the same instruction. So here I have a run.instructions.md. It's saying, hey, here's how we boot the iOS simulator. Here's how you run the project. Of course, it can figure this out on its own, but I'm doing this so much, right? Like I want it to do it the right way all the time. And so this is an example of kind of guiding the tool calling from an MCP server from an instruction. So if we jump back over here, so I said run this app. So this is also new. I can come in here. It ran this boot simulator tool from the Xcode build MCP server. So now we have this expandable input and output. So you can see exactly this is what was sent to the server, right? Because it's good as a developer, you want to know what's going back and forth, right? It's a little scary if it's like, I don't know what's actually sending. So you can see here, it's saying, okay, boot the simulator ID. Okay, it failed. Why did it fail? It's unable to boot in the current state. Okay, sure. And then now it ran the build and run by project ID command that used some of the stuff from my custom instructions. And you can see it's now running. So if I go back over here, you can see a very fancy, that's not what I see. Okay, there we go. You can see a very fancy hello world from my Swift UI app. But that's cool because like I just basically drove building and running this app right from agent mode in VS Code, even though it's an iOS app.
That's incredible.
So let's find, I want to show off the Context 7 one and then I'll show the GitHub one off. So Context 7 libraries. We also want to see the
music one. I think.
All right, we'll show the music one. I'm not sure if StreamYard's going to let me share like my audio from system because I think it only works for browser, but we'll see. So like, let me find like a library like, so I can go like .NET MAUI. All right, so they have all these libraries that they've indexed, right? Look at all these. And so I can come back.
Context 7?
Context 7, yeah. So this is context7.com/libraries. You can see all the doc sets they indexed, a lot of tokens, right? And how frequently it's updated. So this is like a good way to supplement the model with more context. So I'll go back over to VS Code and I can say something like, use context 7 to find out the latest with .NET MAUI. And so you can see here, it's using the resolve library ID. I searched for .NET MAUI. It found a result, and now it's getting the docs. And it's just giving me some basic stuff. Here's some latest features from .NET MAUI. Here's how you use them, right? And so this is like a really great way to say, if there's something like recent you want to use, whether it's a library and it's in the training data or not, or it's past the training data cutoff for the model, you can supplement the model with more context, right? Via something like this MCP server. So that's super cool.
And that happened really fast too.
Yeah, I mean, it's super fast. And like, if you have a set of docs that you're going to want to regularly reference, then you could even go to your custom instructions, right? And you could say, hey, when I'm talking about .NET MAUI, always use this doc set, right, from context 7. And then it'll just like, boom, go get it and supplement the model with the context it needs. All right, so let's start building this app, and I'll kind of work in the GitHub MCP server as I go. So also new in this release, if I come over here into prompts, this is basically a way for me to define reusable workflows that I can use over and over again. Because I'm sure, like, Kadisha, like when you're working with the model, or right, you're probably typing a lot of similar things from time to time, whether it's on the same project or different project. Like for me, I have a lot of similar workflows. So I'm not like full out vibe coding of like, I'm YOLOing. I'm just throwing things in there and hoping for the best. Like I like more of a structured approach, right?
Strategy.
So yeah, because the better context you give the model, the better results you're going to get, right? To the point about the docs. So like I have my whole workflow here where I start with research. So I say, I'm going to close this out. I say, hey, like I want to build something. Here's my idea. I want you to do these things, clarify any details before you research my idea. Once we have my idea, use the perplexity tool to search like information about it. Here's the things I want you to actually include in your research. Like who are the customers, problem statements, possible competitors, unmet needs, differentiators, et cetera, et cetera. And when you're done, output it to this file. But what I actually want to do is we're gonna research this idea I have, and we're gonna actually create a GitHub issue for it. We're gonna do it live. Let's see how this works. So rather than storing my doc set locally, like I have right here, let's actually use GitHub, right, and issues to actually track my ideas and features I want to implement. So new in this release, like prompt files, this thing I'm showing right here, that isn't new. What's new is right here. So similar to what we had for instructions, I can say, hey, when you run this prompt, run it in agent mode, use the perplexity ask tool, and here's how you describe it. So I'm going to come in here and say home tracking app for my chores, like exactly. I'll use the tab completion. So I'll just hit save. So this is like an app for me and my wife, and my kids are too young, but hopefully one day they'll do their own chores, right? To manage like our home stuff. All right, so like I just kind of want to start with a research query to know kind of what I need to do. So I can come up here, check out this play icon. I could click that, run prompt in new chat, right? Or I can come in here. By the way, command palette, check this out. You can drag this thing. A lot of people don't know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I like it in the middle of the screen generally. So then I can come in and I can say like prompts, and you can see I have run prompts. Check this out. All right. These are all the prompts that I have over here in this prompts directory. So let's do that research prompt. So you can see here, I'm just going to close out to make everything less intense. But you can see here, it ran this, it attached the prompt file, the research prompt file, right? Because my run instructions are scoped globally, they were attached, right? That's expected. Now we're running this perplexity ask MCP server. So that's happening. And we're going to get some research. So it already got the output. You can see it got the output back. And now the model is actually taking that and summarizing that back to me. We created the research document. Let's see if it actually spits the info into there. And while that's going, like also BT dubs, you can see here we have the model dropdown. We've been shipping support for the latest and greatest models from model providers. So GPT-4.1 is pretty amazing. The performance is great. We also shipped a new version of Gemini 2.5 Pro earlier this week. I'm noticing really, really good results with tool calling, and it does a great job with UI. So that's a great model to try, and of course the Claude models as well. Nice. Okay, so here's my idea. Look at this. This all came from that reusable prompt file. So any idea, like all I have to do is take that prompt file, say this is my idea, right? Boom, run, and I get this research query spit out from Perplexity. and GitHub Copilot. All right, so it's saying like, okay, who are my primary users, secondary users? What problem statements? Yes, I am quite overwhelmed by the task I have to do at home.
I
So
love
that's fair. Possible competitors. So if I wanted to, like as a follow-up research query, I could say, hey, these look like interesting competitors to my idea. Let's go research each of those, figure out what they do well and what they don't do well, right? And where can I differentiate even further? So this is kind of a basic query, but we could keep iterating. All right, so this is my research. So right now, like I said, I'm storing all that research right here. All right, so, but we talked about GitHub. What am I doing? You should be yelling at me. Why are you creating a markdown file right there? You should be storing that in GitHub, right? I guess it technically is stored in GitHub anyways, because it's all in source control. But all right, so the one thing to note is when we run things from a prompt file, it will also kind of reset my tool selection. So because my prompt file said only use Perplexity, check this out, all the other tools are deselected, right?
Nice.
So that's just like a nice UX thing to keep in mind. I'll have to come back in and say I want all this. I need to actually log a bug for that because I don't personally believe that to be the right behavior. Sorry, y'all. I'm going to demo the Apple Music thing in a second. All right, so now I'm going to say, okay, here's my research. I've never done this before, so we're doing it live.
I know, this is amazing. I am like, I'm going to have to add this to my workflow and blog about it. Wait, before we keep going, so Perplexity and Copilot for easy generation. Yes, for like easy research, idea generation stuff. This is incredible. And all within your code editor, you know, like the place that we live the most.
Exactly. Like that's the cool thing with all this is like you don't have to jump around to a million tools, right? I'm staying in the editor. I'm staying in the flow. MCP is bringing those tools to me, right? I don't have to go out to all these rando external tools. I'm just staying in my workflow. All right. So let's just try this. I'm going to try. You can always say like with the GitHub MCP, you could do that, right? But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say this, and let's see if the intent detection picks up the right thing to do. What would the title and description be? I didn't even tell it what issue to create. That's lame. All right, so I'm going to say, actually, you can drag and drop here. I'm going to drag and drop. Call it research and use the research I have in research.md, please.
I often say please too. Yeah, please and thank you. Yeah.
I would like to say that I don't get angry sometimes, and I always keep positive with the LLM, but I'd be lying. Resource not available by personal access token. Did I create with the wrong personal access token?
Oh,
let's see. All right, so let's
go
back.
Take you off screen.
Take me off screen. I'm going to create a new pat. I think I created it with my other account. I have a work one and a personal one. So let's see.
So good. Let me come through the comments here. Okay, so I'm trying to think of ways to remember MCP instead of MPC. Maybe mint chocolate pie. Very on topic, of course. So Gemini 2.5 Pro from May 6 is top benchmarks for coding right now, I think. Yes, Gemini 2.5 Pro is excellent. I have been loving using 2.5 Pro. I'm still kind of biased towards Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Maybe it's because I like how it works and it doesn't do too much, if you know what I mean. With Gemini 2.5 Pro and even 4.1 GPT 4.1, I find that they do too much and I feel a little out of control whenever I use those models. I don't know if you've had the same experience, watching, but that's kind of how I feel about it. But yeah, I think 4.1 it is absolutely faster. Absolutely. Let's see. Someone has said, do all the GitHub live stream people sing? Yes, we do. It's kind of how we think. I think it's kind of how we think and how we noodle on things that we're trying to remember to say. Does the Apple Music MCP require a Docker container for Windows user? We're not sure yet. Hopefully we have time to look at the Apple MCP because I think we all want to see it. So I hope Pierce, drops us the repo and shows it to us.
I'm working on it.
They're pretty verbose, Gemini. Yes, I agree. Exactly. I always say that. I'm just like Gemini 2.5 Pro and GPT 4.1. They're so verbose, and I find that they generate they use a lot of tokens. And if you're on, let's say you're using the free tier of GitHub Copilot, I always like to say choose your models wisely, um, to preserve your completions.
Still creating this token.
Yeah, of course. Do you guys have any questions? Let me know. Have you played with MCP? Tried MCP? This is amazing. I'm definitely going to be using the Perplexity AI MCP for sure, because I'm constantly doing research, and of course I use Perplexity and I use Copilot. I use all the tools to my advantage to do the research, but having just a singular prompt file where I can just switch out the ideas and say, hey, run this. Oh my gosh. Pierce, yes, thank you. Here is the repo again. So make sure you can go to this repo, star it, so you can always go back to it to look at how Pierce formatted everything, so we can follow that.
And I need to sync my changes from local. I haven't done
that.
Okay. So keep an eye out afterwards.
Yeah, keep an eye out afterwards for all the changes.
Oh, we're cooking. Well, let's switch back to me. We're cooking.
Okay,
sorry, I got excited. Let's go back. All right. So I am bad at remembering things with relating to the personal access token thing. One thing that I just did wrong. I created that pat. I was just like, boom, 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 click some buttons. Yeah, sure. Copy the thing, paste it in. Right. What's the problem with that? I didn't say I want you to be able to look at issues, right? I didn't give it scopes. So it was like, I can't do anything. So yeah, then I just ran it again. I gave it access to create issues, and you can see here, okay, here's all my research. You can see I like being able to inspect the input and output for the MCP servers. So like I can come in here and I can see, okay, the input was all this stuff from my markdown document, right? I can see that's exactly what was passed. And then I see, okay, like we got output back. It looks like we're getting some JSON back from the GitHub thing. So then let's check this out. Boom. I'm showing my StreamYard.
Let me go look at issues. Yeah, it's right here, research.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
All
right, so now let's actually go and we got how many? We got 15 minutes. Let's go build something, right? So we have our research. I'm gonna close that out. And now let's go ahead and build out an idea. So I'm gonna come back over to my prompts and I'm gonna say, okay, here's my idea. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna say, my idea is a basic home tracker app for chores. So then basically this prompt is my spec proposal, basically. Like, okay, I have this idea, I have some research, like how can I go build something, right? And so you can see here, I'm like, okay, let's iterate on the details of this proposal first, right? Keep doing that until I'm happy. When I'm ready, let's create this doc that describes the plan. We're also gonna create this. I'm gonna say, actually, I'm gonna update this prompt and say, create a plan and use the GitHub create issue tool to create an issue with this proposal and title spec. All right, so again, word wrap. So I'm gonna delete this. So, because like I said, we're gonna just store all this remotely. We can see here, okay, what are the different things we want it to work? How should the architecture work? What is my MVP, right? This stuff maybe I care less about right now. So I'm gonna just go ahead and delete that. And so then I'll just come in and I can come in here and I'll show you how you can actually attach this from here as well. Or I won't. I'll come in here and I'll go run prompt, and we're gonna run our. Actually, I'm gonna drag in. We want that research there, so I'll drag that in as context, so it has that when it's coming up with the plan, and then I'm gonna go Command Shift P, run prompt, new, and you can see my research was attached. All right, Now it's already getting back. Remember how I told it in the prompt to iterate with me? It's like, we need you to iterate, to clarify some things. Okay. So I'm not going to literally go thing by thing.
Yeah.
Let's keep it, it's so simple, no cloud, no auth, nothing, just a simple task list. This is how you build out an MVP. iOS only with Swift, not multi-user. Don't worry about data storage, gamification. And the thing is, you don't have to like type everything perfectly. Like it doesn't have to be like I'm typing back to like someone as a formal proposal, right? You can just throw stuff in the box and it'll work. No integrations. So let's see what it does when I do that. All right, so here's the proposal. Okay, I should be able to create a new chore list. I should be able to view all the chores. I should be able to mark them as complete and delete the chores. Yeah, sounds great. Let's create the issue now. All right, what are we feeling on now? Did I not do something right with create issue? Okay, so it's looking at Pierce. That's the wrong repo. So let's go back over here. And I'm going to close out of that. And we're going to go back to our new prompt. And did I give it the wrong repo? The correct repo is Bogan Pierce home tracker. So now let's pop back open chat. Okay, now try. All right, see, it worked. So this is why like being able to see the input and output is so good, because I'm like, I can see why it failed. Like it failed because it tried to create it in a repo that doesn't exist, right? And
like
now
you're still
boom,
doing that debugging.
Exactly. And okay, boom, here's my proposal, right?
Boom.
So then copy pasta, close out of this, a lot of windows. Like I like to live a little chaotic. I'll be honest. I have a lot of tabs open at any given time. You should see my VS Code when I'm not presenting. It's like my browser tabs. It's like do. All right, so we got 10 minutes. Let's build out something simple. So I'm going to start a new thread. Actually, I want to show a new feature. Open chat in new window, ... open chat in new window. I'm going to actually hover over this, and it says set always on top. So watch this. I'm interacting with this other window, and this one's staying open. That's pretty cool. So like, imagine I have like my web app running, right? And I'm just hot reloading, and I'm just agent moding, and I'm vibing out. Like I could just have the browser open in theory, and I could overlay this chat window with agent mode on top of it, and I could be working.
Wild.
And so that's super cool. We live in the future. We live in the future. Now I can have even more tabs in Windows that I need to manage. Okay, so we have our issue. Okay, cool. Now let's implement this. And one thing I think we also have really good, I think it's either a GitHub doc or a blog or maybe both, is what model do I use? Y'all were talking about that a little bit earlier, right? So there's different models here. Like GPT-4.1 is super fast. I really like that. There's also the Claude models and Gemini. I'm going to use Claude 3.7 Sonnet here because I really like the UI taste that it has, right? And so this is where you have to poke around and be like, okay, for my stack and what I want to use, this model seems to work really well, because it's super challenging for us to write these docs that like always use this, right? Because there is no always use this, right? It's like you have to pick the best tool for the job, and some of these models are better or worse at certain things, right? All right, so now we're going to start implementing this.
We could add links to the chat panel.
Yes.
Nice.
So 2 ways you can do that. So if you're in agent mode, we now resolve, as of 2 releases ago, URLs. So if you're like, there's some docs here, like take these docs and like use this as context. Copy pasta in agent mode, it works. If you're in ask mode, you can use #fetch in the URL. In this case, we know we have a GitHub URL, right? We also know we have a GitHub MCP server. So it can actually use the GitHub MCP server to go fetch the issue. In this case, now we're starting to write some code, all right, which is pretty cool. So things are starting to come in. Okay, we got a data model, right? One thing I do notice is like sometimes with like especially proof of concepts and stuff, you really have to coach the model down from being like, please don't overcomplicate this, right?
Yes.
I don't need the perfect architecture. Like I'm trying to, often when I'm doing like this workflow I'm showing to y'all, like it's like I have a new idea and I just want to quickly prove it out. And like
MVP,
I'll probably come back and I'll come back and circle around and be like, okay, like, you know, this is the design pattern I want to use, and like here's how I want my data model structured and things like that. But like sometimes for these MVPs, you're just like, it's not necessary. Like I don't need 18 subcomponents, right, for each thing on the page. Like just throw it all in one file, right? So you can see here, there's a lot of things happening, right? We started with an MCP call. Now we're going into the native tool calling. We're searching to make sure we have the right context. So we searched, we found our content view, which is like our entry point. Okay, we also found that. Okay, now it's like I have a good understanding of the project structure. So the first thing we do in agent mode is we make sure, do we have the right context to actually do what you asked for, right? So we didn't have the issue, so we had to grab that. Do we have the right context from the issue? Okay, now we do. Okay, but now I don't know how to implement that. I need to know the source. Okay, so then the model goes and actually searches with agent mode to find the context it needs. And then it starts creating stuff. It's like, okay, understand kind of how this works. We added some of our views. We added a model. Now we added the content view. Like you can also make this full screen. This is my dual monitor flow, by the way. I will come and I will literally have one full monitor that's agent mode, boom. And I'll have another one that is like my source and VS Code. And like, that's how I work. I have a full monitor for agent mode. Okay, now we're done writing code, right? All right, we're back in the Xcode build MCP server. And after this, I promise you, I've been teasing the people enough. We will show the Apple Music MCP server. It will be shown in this stream, assuming I don't run out of issues.
And the repo, if the repo is public, we'll also
I need to push that in a second. Okay, so good. So it's actually going, and it says, okay, like, okay, we're having some issues running this. We have some build errors. Okay, so it's actually iterating based off the build errors it has. All right, so now we're going back. We have the simulator booted. Where are you, simulator? Also, if you hear screaming, I'm sorry. We got 2 kids. That's life.
We can't hear it.
Okay, good. my son's like, you're on a stream? Now is the perfect time for me to have a meltdown. Right off camera. All right, so we're going back and making sure, like, okay, based off these build errors, what do we actually need to do? And so one cool thing, like in this case, I'm getting build feedback, right, from the Xcode build MCP server, and I'm using that to iterate. If I had the Swift language server extension installed in VS Code, what it would actually do is it can look at the language server errors. So like that problems view you see in VS Code, it'll actually look at that, right? Nice. And so that's pretty neat. All right, so let's see. Looks like we're making some changes over here. The chore class is getting some updates. Let's go back to our other window. Where are you, other window? Where are you? Where did you go, agent mode?
We all sing, even the VS Code streamers.
Okay. Looks like we're booting. Whoa! All right, we're back. We're back, folks. All right, so let's go. Not Docker. This. Okay, so this is a one shot of this. Okay, so we got home chores. Look at this empty state.
Yeah, you know, it looks great.
For aspiring designers out there, always add an empty state. Okay, what am I supposed to do when I use the app? Okay, tap plus to add a new chore. All right. What should our chore be? What's something I need to do around the house?
Something you need to do is to show us the Apple, the music MCP.
All right. So then we'll do that. All right. Don't autocorrect to. All right. I mean, look at this. This is how you do UX, people.
Yeah.
But this is pretty cool because it kind of shows off the benefits of this planning-based workflow I mentioned, right? Because it wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to add all this in one file. It was like, I'm going to think about how to solve your task. And so like I do this for every feature. It's like, okay, now I want to be able to create chore lists, not just the overall chore list. Okay, How do I do that? That's a feature. Okay, I'll plan that and then ask the model to implement it. So there's like this iteration workflow that I go through, right? And I am kind of in some ways vibe coding here because did I review this source? No, right?
Not yet.
Not yet. But like I said, this is an MVP. It matters less to me like the actual contents of this. It matters that I'm trying to prove out an idea here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're gonna do the whole reason that everyone. Oh, there you are. I was wondering where you went, agent mode. All right, we're gonna do it. I don't know if I need to reshare to get my audio. We'll see if it works because I'm gonna know very quickly if it works or not, and it's gonna be very loud and it's gonna scare me. I think because. All right, so here's what I do. I'll go to my instructions. I'm gonna say Apple Music. You don't have to do it like this. Like there's no like special format here. I'm just kind of like I have seen online that when people structure their rules via these like XML-based tags, it does well. No, don't ask to do that. Okay, let's ask it to do something. So I'm gonna again. I want to when we start the conversation with the user, play what's a fun song. That I don't know if it'll work if it's not my library, so I need to think.
Yeah.
What's a fun song? Why was this the hardest part of the stream for me? Is coming up with a song.
Always. It's like naming a variable.
Play. Okay, we're gonna go Limp Bizkit, My Generation, with the play music tool. Okay, so you can see like in some cases I have like a syntax I'm following here. In some cases I'm just like very natural language on how I do this. Again, this is a Copilot instruction, right? This is in .github Copilot instructions. So this is attached on every interaction with the model. So let me go back to my MCP. Let's make sure I have let's boot up this Apple Music MCP. And let's just say something like, hello there, and see if I get music playing. All right, I'm going to prepare to jump when this music plays in my AirPods and y'all can't hear it. Do, do, do. No! So, wait, is the thing... All right, so let's do a quick test. Like, the Apple Music. Oh, I think I know what's going on, actually. Did I have... Nope, didn't have... So that's why. So that's actually pretty cool. Gotcha. It wasn't enabled, like I was saying. You gotta... It's a tricky one.
It works.
All right, so now let's try it. Hello there, again. All right. All right. Let's see. Okay. Do I want... Yes, I want you to control music. Oh! Okay. Check that out.
No way! We can't hear it, but that's okay.
I know. It was very loud.
YouTube copy. Yeah, we wouldn't want any copyright issues.
Our stream is immediately shut down.
Amazing.
Exactly.
Please share the repo so we can do it.
Yeah, I definitely will. And I'm really happy we were able to show that, like right at the end here. That was exactly what we needed to do. So what do? We talked about the latest VS Code release. If you don't have it, click this little gear, check for updates, restart, boom, you got it. You can try out all the prompt file stuff I mentioned, popping out chat, the custom instruction stuff, all the latest MCP magic. So we showed that. We built a nice little home tracker app. We explored the GitHub MCP server. Remember to set up that personal access token correctly, right? Don't be Pierce. Don't set it up wrong. And we saw how kind of I can stay in VS Code and like do all this cool stuff like research, interacting with GitHub, interacting with Perplexity, all that from inside of HMO to VS Code. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And most importantly, we played some Apple Music, right?
Most important
takeaway, go download the Apple Music MCP.
Oh my gosh, Pierce, this was so jam-packed. I love it. I love how you structure your instructions, your prompts. I love how you integrate using the MCPs and how you have that fun music MCP there. I love how you introduced us to Context 7. This was amazing. I am so excited. I hope you learned as much as I did. And I'm definitely gonna be digging into MCP a lot more now, because if I can just stay in my editor, that would be sweet. That would be grand. We have one question. Is there a way to set some MCP servers as trusted so you don't need to keep approving them? Oh.
Yes. Let's see. Can we pull up my screen again? I can show something.
Yeah.
So if you just want a blanket approve, we do have this this tools auto approve experimental setting. So you'll notice like I didn't approve Apple Music playing, right? And that was because I have this experimental setting enabled. But we also have like a little drop down on the MCP. Hold on, let me wait real quick. Let's do it. Auto approve. I'm gonna turn it off. Save. Come back over here, and now I'm gonna say again, hello there, and it should play my Apple Music thing. All right, so you see this? Allow in this session. I know we should make this so that the Zoom actually respects my Zoom setting, but I have allow in this session, allow in this workspace, always allow. So if you don't want to do the YOLO, I'm going to approve every tool call thing that I just showed, you can come in here and you don't just hit continue, click this little drop down, more actions. And if you just want it to work inside this VS Code session, you can do that. If you want it to work inside this workspace, you can do that. Or you can say, I'm not too worried about you playing random songs for my Apple Music playlist. I will always allow this. Those are your options.
Nice. Thank you so much. We're gonna start playing out. This was amazing. Again, Pierce, thank you for joining us. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Please come back next week. And I'm gonna make sure that Pierce gives me that repo so we can all play with that Apple Music MCP. And then I will share it. I'll share it online. And if next week I'll mention it again so that you can all have it. Thank you so much for joining. This was so fun. But we're gonna get back to it. Thanks for joining us. See you next week and keep coding. Bye.
Bye. Happy coding.